Good morning. Thank you very much for this beautiful introduction about myself, for these kind words. Of course, I don't deserve all of them. Some of the titles attributed to me are just incidental. They happened just in the course of the journey. I don't take any special credit for some of these so-called accomplishments or awards, etc. I consider myself to be a student like all of you, like you are students pursuing your professional education at MSNM. I look at myself as a student pursuing my education in the journey of life. I am going to talk about a very interesting subject today. The subject is new trends in learning and development. My dear moderator announced the topic as new trends in learning and advertising, but it's not learning and advertising, it's learning and development is the topic that we are going to talk about. Learning and development is a subject which is largely under HR, but having said that, this is a subject which concerns everyone. I have a few slides which I would share with you. I am going to share my slide in a moment. Just give me a few seconds. I think I pressed the wrong button. Just give me a second. Can you confirm if you're able to see my slides? One of you can confirm that you can see my slides? Can you confirm if you can see my slides? Can you hear me? Am I audible?
Yes, we can see it and you're audible.
Fantastic. All right. So the topic that we have chosen today is new trends in learning and development. Let's talk a little bit about learning and development before we get into the new trends. Once upon a time, there was a sailor who was the captain of a gigantic ship. He was sailing with other fellow travelers in the sea. And in one place, when the ship had parked itself in the harbor in a particular city or country, after that, when they wanted to resume that journey, the ship engine did not start. The captain called upon the engineer in the ship, and the engineer tried. He could not fix the problem. They tried to get many experts, technicians from the city where the harbor was located, where the ship was parked. Many of them came, nobody could fix it. Finally, somebody told him that in a particular city, little away from the harbor where the ship had parked itself, there is an old man who can probably fix this issue in the ship. Captain called that man in. That old man came into the ship. He was carrying a hammer in his hand. He looked at the engine for a few minutes, for about 3-4 minutes, and then he picked up his hammer and banged his hammer on a few screws and nuts. It just did that for about a couple of minutes. The ship started running. The engine started running again. The captain was overjoyed. He hugged this man. He embraced him with joy and then said, "You made our life so simple. You made our day. For the last few days, we have been parking in this country. We have not been able to move an inch because the engine of the ship was not working." And the captain asked him, "How much should I pay you?" That old man, an engineer by profession, told the captain, "I will go back and send you my invoice, my bill." The man went back and sent his invoice. The invoice just had one amount. The amount was 10,000 US dollars. 10,000 US dollars. The captain was a little surprised. He said, "That man came. He was there only for 5-6 minutes. He tapped his hammer on a few screws and nuts for that $10,000. Man must be a greedy man. He's taking advantage of our situation." He replied to the old man and asked him, "Can you give me a breakup of your $10,000? You have sent an invoice for $10,000. I need that breakup of, what is the breakup of this 10,000 USD?" The old man sent another invoice that had 2 lines. The first line said, "Tapping on the screws, $5. The second line said, "Knowing where to tap, $9,995 US dollars. Tapping on the screws, $5, and knowing where to tap, $9,995. What does this story tell us? The story tells us about the power of knowledge. Knowledge can be immensely powerful. If you have the knowledge, you can rule the world, because today we are living in a knowledge economy. We're living in an economy where majority of everything that we deal with is knowledge. In the good old days, in a factory or in an organization, 95% were machineries, buildings, equipments. Just 5% was knowledge. Today, if you look at an organization asset, 95% is knowledge. 5% is your machineries and equipments and other things. So knowledge in today's knowledge economy is extremely important. This age is called the age of knowledge workers. Peter Drucker, the famous management guru, described the present age as the age of knowledge workers. So in today's age, knowledge has gained prominence. In a world where knowledge has gained prominence, it goes without saying the value of learning and development. Now, let's look at what's happening today. We are talking about today's world. We're talking about the new world. We're talking about the importance of knowledge in present world. Let's understand what's happening in the present world. What is so important about today's times? Today, if you look at this slide, we have higher frequency of black swan events. I don't know if you're familiar with the word black swan. Black swan event means a rare event which is unprecedented in history, which doesn't happen every day. It's a rare event which happens rarely in history, but it has unprecedented ramifications. But today, such rare events have become more common. 9/11 terrorist attack on the World Business Center was a black swan event. The Brexit was a black swan event. COVID-19 is a black swan event. Black swan events which used to happen once in a century today happens very, very, very frequently. Rare, but no longer rare. Unprecedented, no longer unprecedented, but such events have got widespread ramifications and impact on business, industry, societies, people, countries, politics, and everything else. In today's world, innovation and creative destruction of industries and products has become common. In 1966, in the 1960s, there were a few companies which featured in Fortune 500 companies. Today, 89% of those companies are not there in that Fortune 500 list. Just about 11% of those companies still remain. Almost 90% of those companies have moved out of the Fortune 500 list. Either they have perished, closed down, shut down their business, or they have been acquired by some other company. They do not exist anymore. What does it mean? This means innovation, evolution in the marketplace is systematically killing products, solutions, services, industries, organizations. Innovation has led to creative destruction of organizations and products. New products are killing old products. New organizations, sometimes the startup companies are also killing large multinationals. Accelerated market evolution is linked to that particular point that I just talked about, because evolution of the marketplace is happening at an accelerated pace. Decreasing product life cycle. If it used to manufacture a laptop a few months or weeks, today it can be done in a few hours. So product life cycle has shrunk. The rise in globalization. On one hand, we see globalization. On the other hand, we see emergence of local products, local organizations. Organizations of future are going to be global in nature, but catering to the needs of different locations, states, countries, provinces, etc. Moral capitalism on the rise. So we today hear about corporate social responsibility, we hear about sustainability, we hear about social purpose of commercial organizations. Organizations which are losing a social purpose are not surviving for very long. It took us 300 years to invent the wheel. Today, Apple launches a new iPhone almost every year. So that's the pace of evolution that you can see today. Pace of evolution is phenomenal. The speed at which innovation is happening is phenomenal. That's what I was talking about, accelerated market evolution and product development life cycle is shrinking drastically. Now, what's happening at the workplace? We talked about the global scenario, what's happening in the industry. There are a few things that are happening at the workplace. The important thing is gig economy. Organizations of today and tomorrow will have more contract employees, more part-time employees, more employees who are going to work for multiple organizations at the same time. You will have millennials at the workplace. You know, with the Zomatos and Swiggies and Olas and Ubers coming into this world, gig economy has become a reality. So I met a young boy who is studying engineering and is also working for Zomato. It's an example of gig economy. And there are many such examples. There are people who are taking care of the children at home during the day and then probably in the evening driving an Ola cab or an Uber cab. Organizations, formal structured organizations are recruiting contract employees, part-time employees. Yesterday, it was almost impossible. The law of the country did not allow people to work for multiple organizations. The laws are becoming more flexible slowly and slowly. Some countries, they allow the same person to work in multiple organizations at the same time. Millennials are the workplace. You are all millennials, Gen G, Gen Y and Gen G. You are, you come with different outlook towards life, your taste and preference, your likes and dislikes are very different from generation that I belong to. But 3 out of 4 people in the workforce are millennials today. Value of skills over qualification. Is qualification not important? It is important. But organizations are increasingly paying more attention to skills than qualification. If I name a few organizations, Bank of America, Google, and several other organizations have decided not to look at qualification as a selection criteria. They see, we have not seen any tangible connection between performance, potential, productivity, and qualification. Rather, we pay more attention to skills. So it's important, skills are being looked at minutely with a magnifying lens. Massive job loss due to automation, and we'll continue to see that. Coexistence of men and machines in the workplace. When I say men, I mean both men and women. In future, you will see the same workplace. Part of the work is done by men and women. The other part of the work is done by machines. Men and women work for 5 days a week, 8 hours a day. Machines can work for 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. So you know, where is the competition coming from now in future? Unemployment on one hand, unfilled jobs on the other. So automation is taking away many jobs. Many of us will become jobless. At the same time, new jobs will emerge for which people will not have skills. So there would be unfilled jobs on the other hand. It's a very precarious situation to be in. On one hand, people are losing jobs. On the other hand, organizations are looking for talent. That's the future. Here's some of the new trends. Because we're going to talk about the new trends in learning and development, it's important that I talk about the new trends in the globe, new trends at the workplace, because learning and development the trends in learning and development will be linked to the trends that we see globally and the trends that we see at the workplace. Now, what does this mean? This means that organizations will have to keep learning. They will have to enable their workforce to learn all the time. If there is unprecedented innovation, if existing products are getting killed by new products, you must quickly develop new knowledge to compete with your competition, to keep pace with the change that is happening. We talked about the changes in the globe. We talked about the changes in the workplace. Organizations must keep pace with the change around them. And how can one keep pace with the change? The only way to keep pace with change is learning. There's no other way. And change is happening at phenomenal pace. What does this mean? This means learning has to happen at phenomenal pace. Apple is launching a new iPhone every year. Maybe they will launch 2 iPhones in a year, every 6 months in the next few years. If the pace of innovation is so fast, competition must catch up. You cannot be moving at a slow pace. So the message to organizations is the pace of learning must be faster than the pace of change. If change around an organization is happening at a particular speed, learning of employees in that organization must be faster than the change. So that brings the challenge for L&D practitioners like us. That also brings us opportunities for L&D practitioners like us. Since I am a learning and development practitioner myself, I can see the opportunity, I can see the challenge. Let's talk about the opportunities. Organizations need to transform themselves. Many organizations perished, died down during COVID because they could not survive. Some of them survived. You know who survived? The ones who could transform themselves. When COVID was at its peak in 2020, or it was slowly coming down, people were still hesitating to go out, and travel and tourism industry, hotel industry were badly affected. I got a message on my WhatsApp. The message goes like this: do you want to work from home safely? We will provide you work from home opportunity in a 4-star facility with complete safety. For last 1 year, no travel, everybody was frustrated. You know, everybody was looking for a break. Here is this hotel in Coorg, is trying to survive by transforming itself. It is, instead of providing opportunity for tourists to be on a tour, it says, hey, I can provide you work from home at a very reasonable price, 4-star, 5-star facility, absolute safety. An organization is trying to transform itself. It's a great example of transformation. Reimagination. Organizations need to transform themselves. They need to reimagine themselves. They need to become more resilient. They need to come up with new business models like this hotel in Coorg had come up with. They need to prepare their employees for the new world. Because in the new world, the way we operated in the past, we are not going to operate in the same way in future. Organizations need to prepare their workforce to innovate, to create, to bring up new ideas. Organizations need to prepare their workforce for distributed working. In the past, I would have come down to your institution and delivered a session, but now it's happening virtually. We are working in a distributed environment. I can see that some of you are sitting physically in one location. I have logged in from Bangalore, and there are a few other participants have logged in from different places. So it's a distributed setting. We're not in the same location. That's the future of work. 375 million workers are going to switch to new occupational categories because the jobs will go away. Organizations need to upskill, reskill, cross-skill their workforce. These are opportunities for L&D, for learning and development. Huge opportunities lying ahead of us because we can train people transformational skills. We can train folks on how to become resilient. We can train the workforce in organizations to create new business models. We can train our workforce to prepare for the new world. We can train our workforce to innovate. We can train our workforce to effectively and efficiently work in a distributed working environment. 375 million workers will switch to new occupational categories. Who will train them for new occupations? Learning and development function. Organizations need to upskill, reskill, and cross-skill their workforce. Who is going to upskill and reskill them? Learning and development function. Huge opportunity lying for L&D. Any one of you contemplating a career in HR and L&D is a great opportunity. Another 20 years. Now, World Economic Forum 2018 has listed down 10 critical skills. So as you graduate from MSNM with your degree, professional degree, remember, you need these skills to become successful. Critical thinking, complex problem solving, creativity, the art of managing people, ability to coordinate with others, emotional intelligence, judgment and decision making, service orientation, which is nothing but empathy, negotiation, cognitive flexibility. These are the 10 skills which are going to be important as you get ready to begin your professional journey. Now, what are the challenges for learning and development? The challenges for learning and development is, while the world is changing very, very, very fast, many of us in L&D functions are still, we are from the Gen G generation. We move very slow. The industry is moving very fast. HR and L&D functions have not been able to keep pace with the change. That is a challenge for us. Organizations are making investments in technology, not investing enough in learning. So if you talk to any CEO, he or she would say that we are investing in new technology, we're introducing new technology, we are automating our supply chain processes, our CRM processes. But how much is one spending on learning? Still relatively lower. L&D is still caught up in the past. We need to reinvent. The pace of change for L&D is terribly slow. So these are some of the changes that we see at the workplace. Also, the worker, the employee in the organization doesn't understand why he or she has to learn, because you don't see the immediate impact of not learning. If you don't learn today, nothing happens. I come back to office tomorrow and I work. But 6 months later, I may not have a job. But I don't see that today. So while L&D is trying to push for new learning, CEOs are trying to push for that. The average worker, employee is saying, I don't have enough time to do my job. Where is the time to learn? Why should I learn? That is also a challenge. So these are some of the challenges for the new for the organization today from a learning standpoint. Now, today, the millennials have arrived at the workplace. Their learning preferences are very different. The way we used to learn, we used to spend 5 days for one leadership development program. Today, 5 days is unthinkable. Even 1 day is difficult. The learner today is asking, can learning be personalized for me? Like you guys walk into a Subway outlet and then you ask the guy serving pasta or serving a sandwich, you ask him, can I customize my sandwich? And he says, yes, you can. Which bread you want? Which sauce you want? Which cheese you want? And you customize your sandwich. Today, the new age learner is saying, can I personalize my learning? Can I customize my learning? Can I choose what I want to learn? You don't decide for me what I need to learn. You're asking, can the curriculum adapt to my pace? I want to learn fast. Can learning happen fast? I want to learn slow. Can I learn slowly? Can learning adapt to my pace? Can I access learning anytime, anywhere, any place, any pace? I'm waiting for my dentist appointment at the dentist clinic. I have 15 minutes. Can I learn something? Any place, anywhere, anytime, any pace. Can learning move to my workplace? I don't want to step out of my workplace, go to a classroom and learn. Can learning happen where I'm sitting and doing my job? My attention span is very short. Can you help me? What is attention span of human beings today? Can anybody tell me? It is shorter than that of, okay, is anyone giving an answer?
Uh, 4 to 5 minutes.
That's quite a lot. And if that is the reality, then
I think so.
I'll be very happy.
Also.
It is, you can Google it and find out. It is less than 9 seconds. Human beings cannot focus on one thing for more than 9 seconds. The fact that you are paying attention to me for more than 30 minutes already, either I am doing a good job or you have got fantastic attention and focus. 9 seconds is the attention span. You know, we deal with multiple screens today, our laptop, a computer, WhatsApp and Facebook and yesterday I think WhatsApp was down for some time and there was hue and cry in the world all over, you know, as if something, there's a catastrophic event has taken place. People are just going crazy. But now there are so many things which are competing to grab our attention. The moment you're reading a WhatsApp message, there is a notification. There is a message for you on Facebook. Then you go there and read it. There is another notification. Now content is trying to get your attention. That is the next point. Can content find me? I don't want to go and find content. Your learning management system should understand what I want, what I like, what I dislike. It should push content to me and say, hey, you may be interested in this. You may be interested in this learning program. You may be interested in this training model. I don't want to go and waste my time in looking for learning. Can content come to me? Can I be involved in the learning design process? These are the expectations of the new age learner. Maybe some of this could be slightly exaggerated. Some of these are real. They're true. But all of them are going to be real in very near future. These are the preferences of the new age learner. Now, what are the trends for the L&D? L&D has to relook at its role, structure, delivery, engagement model. L&D cannot look at the traditional model. What was the role of L&D in the past or even today? L&D today is a learning provider in an organization. L&D is a support function, enabling function like HR. What is L&D going to be in future? L&D is going to be a business unit within HR. L&D has to function like a startup within an organization. The chief learning officer is the CEO of that unit. And for everything he or she runs, every event or every intervention that he runs or she runs, it has to have an ROI, return on investment. Business leaders never used to ask L&D leaders in the past, what is ROI? They used to ask, did people like the training? What was the feedback score? What was the quality? How was the content? Did people enjoy training? These are the questions they used to ask. But today the questions are very different to an L&D leader. The questions are like, okay, so we have spent 32 hours on this training. 200 people have spent 32 hours. That is a productivity loss. How much productivity your program or intervention will help them gain? How much, by what percentage they're going to improve their productivity? By what percentage you are going to improve their efficiency? By what percentage you're going to improve the quality of work? You are running a sales training program. The question is, to what extent the revenue coming from new sales is going to increase? You're running a program for managers. The question that the business leaders will ask you, how much more productive the managers are going to be? The attrition today is, the attrition in the organization is at 32%. To what extent the managers will be able to manage their attrition in their teams after going through this program? So now you're going to be measured on return on investment. From a training provider, our role will change to performance consultants. Will not be just training providers. So I used to tell my colleagues that we are not in the training business. They said, Surya, then what are we doing? We are doing training here. And I used to give them an example of, if you have seen the Rolex watch, which cost a few lakhs of rupees, One person asked him, one journalist asked him once, "Sir, how is the watch business?" He said, "Watch business? I mean, how can I say how is the watch business? I'm not in that business." The journalist asked him, "Sir, you are not in the watch business, then what business you are in? You are the most, you are the largest watchmaker in the world in terms of revenues." He said, "No, I'm not in the watch business. I'm in the luxury business. I don't make watches. I provide luxury to people." Similarly, L&D is not in training business anymore. We are in performance business. We need to drive performance in organizations. That's why we are here for. We're not here to deliver great quality training. Of course, that is important. But if you just deliver great quality training, organizations will not need us anymore. The new trend is leveraging technology. Right now, we are leveraging technology. We're using Zoom as a technology to have this program. But there are suite of new technologies which are emerging in the learning space, which are going to revolutionize the learning space. One of the most important trends that we are going to see in L&D in near future, or we have already started seeing, is bite-sized micro learning. What is a 5-minute YouTube video? It's a bite-sized learning. Why is it required? Because our attention span is only 9 seconds. If you make it really interesting and fun, it can be 3, 4, 5 minutes max. Beyond that, nobody is going to see anything. So I'm also a YouTuber myself, so I create videos. And I hit upon this idea that I must create 1-minute videos. Because if I create videos which is of 4, 5, 6 minutes or 10 minutes duration, only 1% of my audience will watch it. The rest, 99%, will not watch those videos because we don't have the attention span. We don't have the time. Building digital assets. So it's not just going to be content. A content has to be digitally created and digitally stored and digitally managed in future. In organizations today, if you happen to be part of an L&D organization, an L&D function, you will have to create digital assets, artifacts, learning modules, blogs, articles, videos, bite-sized modules, podcasts. All of these would constitute your digital assets. You must create them, organize them, store them, and make them accessible on demand to your employees. That's the future. Creating the right ecosystem. You have to create the right ecosystem. Ecosystem is a combination of two things. It's a combination of your technology, the right infrastructure, and the second aspect is the culture. You need both. You need a learning culture. You need a learning infrastructure. If you have a great infrastructure, if you don't have the culture, people will not learn. If you have a great culture, but if you don't have the right tools and platforms, you may not be very effective because organizations today are global. They're all over the place. They work in different time zones, etc. So you need the right infrastructure, which will enable learning for a global organization, for a global workforce, and the right culture, which will add as the fuel, which will propel the workforce to learn spontaneously in a pull-based method. A culture of learning means a culture of sharing and seeking knowledge freely without hesitation. I can reach out to my colleague and ask for information. And my colleague would voluntarily share information, not holding back knowledge to himself. My colleague can also reach out to me and then I will voluntarily share. That is a culture of learning. And as L&D leaders, we'll have to create that ecosystem. Leveraging learning analytics. Analytics is there everywhere today. Product, marketing, advertising, everywhere analytics is being used. Learning is no exception. Using analytics to understand the taste and preference, the likes and dislikes, what is working, what is not working, which module will be appreciated by which segment of learners. All those analytics will help you improve your learning offering to a great extent. So what is changing today in the learning space? From open enrollment, we are moving to learning journeys. It's not going to be calendar-based training anymore. It's going to be learning journeys. Learning is not going to be topic-driven, that 500 managers will be trained on conflict management. No, it's not going to be like that. It's going to be business need-driven. What is the need of the business? Business is struggling to innovate. We would train our managers to create a culture of innovation in their teams. It's business need-driven. Learning used to be formal. Today, it has already become informal. It's a mix of formal and informal, where people can learn through different channels, through each other, through peer learning, social learning, through their own efforts, and so on. It was learning mostly was concepts and knowledge. Tomorrow, it's all about skills and behavior change. Learning in the past generally used to be low-tech, instructor-led, instructor-driven, classroom format. Learning tomorrow is going to be online, synchronous and asynchronous, social, mobile, and so on. In the past, managers used to be passive in the learning process. Tomorrow, they're going to be active. Managers will be actively interested in the employee's learning journey. There were no measurements or very minimal measurements of learning effectiveness. Today, learning measurement is going to be very, very critical and crucial. L&D leaders will have to demonstrate that they have created value through their learning programs. Take a quick look at this slide. It talks about some of the shifts. With this slide, I will close my presentation and I'll open it up for any Q&A. If you look at this slide, this talks about the shift that is happening. In the past, we were enablers. Today, we are accelerators. In the past, we used to provide high quality training, content, and program. Today, we are influencers. We are influencing the organization and leadership to go for learning, to adopt certain learning formats and learning methodologies and certain learning programs. We used to be content creators. Tomorrow, we don't have to create so much content because a lot of content already exists. We need to curate content and direct people to the right content. Earlier, it was all about structured, well-defined, well-formatted, well-organized learning. Today is about a culture of continuous learning. We are learning all the time. Learners today, yesterday our role was we were trainers, instructors, teachers, facilitators. Today we're facilitators of learning networks. We are facilitating interactions between people so that they can learn from each other. We used to teach skills. Now we're teaching learning habits, because we can't teach all the skills because we ourselves don't have all the skills. But if we teach learning habits, people will learn on their own. Content was defined, structured, static. Today, content is dynamic. It is evolving. It is changing all the time. New content is being added all the time. Earlier, learning was a learning event. Today, it's a learning journey. Earlier, learning was an event happening in a classroom. Now, it's a journey that can happen through your own pursuit, some classroom actions, some actions in the virtual platform, some experience, some project work, some assignment. It's a combination of all of this. We were operating in silos in the past. Today, we're operating in a connected world where learning happens through networks, through collaborations. It's not information silos anymore. This is connected information. So that brings me and brings us to the end of my presentation. I would like to pause here and then open up for any questions that you may have on this topic.
Now, let's have a question and answer session. I request my friends to come forward with the questions. Hello, sir. My question is, with emerging trends and people even adopting those trends for development,
Yes.
how can one outshine from the crowd, sir?
Good question. So, first of all, knowledge is getting obsolete very, very quickly. So, the best way to outshine others would be to be an early mover. Pick up an area where there are not many people who have moved into that area. If you pick up a traditional path, a path which many people have chosen, then you're going to have tough competition. You really have to be the best among the best, which is fine if you choose that path. But you have to choose a path which will make you an early mover in a particular area or domain where not many people have moved in. I was very fortunate. I moved into learning and development about 20 years ago, when learning and development function was just evolving. We did not have an L&D function in organizations. L&D was part of HR. Slowly, they were carving out a function called L&D. I moved in there. And then I made a decent progress, decent journey in my career in L&D. And I would definitely say that I don't have any formal qualification in it, but I got into it. The rest is history. So if you really want to outshine today, you will really have to figure out what is the trend. You will have to see where the industry, in what direction the industry is moving, where new opportunities are likely to be created, which have not been created yet. Get in there. You'll be an early mover and you'll have less competition, and then you will create the trend. Once you create the trend, others will follow you. And you would, after some time, you'll lose your prominence, which is okay. That's part and parcel of our life. Then you will have to think of something new. So my advice is predict the future. And Steve Jobs exactly did the same thing. He, when every computer manufacturing company was thinking how to make the best laptop, he was already thinking how to take computing powers to within a smartphone. Every company, every computer manufacturing company, because by then he had already launched the iPad, the Apple computer. And he could have tried to make a better version of that laptop. But he was thinking how to take computing powers to palm top. How can you have the computing powers which is there in a laptop? How can you have more faster processors integrated, embedded into a smartphone, which can run faster than a laptop? Be an early mover, get into a space where nobody else is there. You have a better chance. Otherwise, it's a crowded space. Did I answer your question?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Good morning, sir. I'm Shivani Suvarna. I wanted to know what has knowledge management to do with L&D. Is it still practiced? Like, do we keep knowledge management as an important factor in organizations now?
Yeah, right. Thank you, Shivani. Good question. It is all converging today. Knowledge management was a distinct area, and then learning is a distinct area. But now they're all converging. Why knowledge management? Knowledge management is there because organizations today have plethora of knowledge. If you log into Google and type a search keyword, how many search results do you get? Shivani, can you answer me?
There are a lot. We get many. It's
thousands, isn't it? Thousands.
yes.
thousands of search results, sometimes millions maybe. Which one will you look at?
The one which comes on the top first.
So
And
that
if
may not be the best.
yes, if we don't get the information, then we move down.
Do you have the time to scan through thousands of results?
No.
Unfortunately not. And the first option is not necessarily the best option. Because of SEO and all that technology which has evolved, an organization can spend money and then also be on top of the Google search. Please sit down. So now the question is, how do you manage this plethora of knowledge? That's why we need knowledge management. So knowledge management function helps us manage knowledge better. So knowledge management is all about identifying relevant knowledge. In this case, there are 1,000 search results. Only 5 are relevant to me. Knowledge management with the latest technology can help you identify the 5 relevant search results for you. So knowledge management is about identifying relevant knowledge, organizing it in a manner which is easily accessible, structuring it, storing it, maintaining it, updating it when knowledge changes. That's what knowledge management is all about. In an organization, if knowledge exists standalone, it is not going to benefit anybody. If you log into the learning management system of any organization, you will find there are thousands and thousands of training courses, but nobody looks at them. Many employees don't even go through these learning courses. What's the point? There's no use. So knowledge management, most important aspect of knowledge management are 4 things. Is about connecting. Is about connecting people with knowledge. If knowledge exists standalone, it has no value. You need to take people to knowledge so that they can access knowledge. Second thing is about connecting knowledge with knowledge so that that knowledge can be enhanced, increased, modified. Third thing is about connecting people with people so that they can come together to create new knowledge. Fourth thing, first thing I said, take people to knowledge. The fourth thing is take knowledge to people. Knowledge, people are not voluntarily coming and accessing knowledge. Push knowledge to people. So knowledge management is about connecting people with knowledge, knowledge with knowledge, people with people, knowledge with people. That is essentially what knowledge management is all about. Learning and development is all about enabling people to learn and develop themselves, to build organizational capability, to build their own individual capability, to make their organization a leader in the marketplace, to find career opportunities for themselves, to grow. That's what learning and development is all about. Shivani, did I answer your question, or you still have any question?
No, sir, I understood it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Any other question?
Hello, sir. My name is
Yes.
Sonia. My
Yes, sir.
question is that what is the difference between the training and development department that HR has and the L&D?
Okay, that's a great question again. You guys asking fantastic questions. So training and training department is a thing of the past. Learning and development is the thing of the present and future. Training means you are training somebody, isn't it? And learning means I am learning. You understand the difference? Learning is about the learner and training is about whom, Sonia? Training is about
organization, employee.
learning is about the learner. Training is about the,
Trainer.
exactly. Training is about the trainer. Now the shift has happened from trainer to learner. In the past, the trainer was all powerful. Today, the learner is powerful. Like the good old days in the banks, the bank manager was very powerful because he was distributing loans. Now today, the borrower is more powerful. Once you announce your intention to take a loan, there are so many bank executives which will line up to offer you a loan. Borrower is more powerful today. And today, the learner is very, very powerful. The learner will say, I'm not interested in learning this. Why I'm learning this? I want to use my time more productively. Well, this learning is no fun. I'm not enjoying this learning. I will not attend this class from tomorrow. You know, in this digitized world, when there are so many learning opportunities available, you log in, you like a module, you go through it, or don't like it, you stop it there. You don't continue that module anymore. So learner is powerful. So learning and development means the learner is more powerful, is learning which is more important than training. Because when you're training, somebody has to receive your training. And who is going to receive your training? As a learner, who is more powerful. So in the past, it used to be called training department because training was in focus. Imparting training was in focus. Today, the shift is from imparting training to assimilating learning, to acquire new learning. That's why it is learning and development. Theoretically, there is no difference, but semantic wise, and and in spirit, the difference is this, what I just explained to you. Did I answer your question, Sonia?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Good morning, sir. My name is Aisha, and my question is, what are some of the L&D programs undertaken in Wipro? Can you give some insights of that, sir?
Sai? Is your name Sai? Did you say Sai?
My name is Saisha, Saisha.
Okay. So your question is whether, what are the L&D programs run by Wipro? Okay. Okay. Well, there are many programs that we run. It's very difficult to name one or two. The programs are again driven by the business needs and driven by the needs of our workforce. Please sit down. So we run, when new employees come in, we run induction program for them. And then we have a program called Campus to Corporate. These young graduates who pass out from these schools who have not been exposed to a corporate career, we take them through the Campus to Corporate program to teach them about business etiquette, culture, communication, intercultural, etiquette. We teach them about presentation skills, and all of that as part of that Campus to Corporate. Then we provide job-specific training. So if an employee is joining as a developer and is going to do some programming in Java, C++, he or she has gone through some training in his engineering college, but then we give them more real on-the-job training, which is specific to the job. If you pass out as an MBA, join in the business analytics team or in the finance team, we give you more job-specific training. After that, we give training on more professional skills. Professional skills like negotiation, influencing skills, persuasion skills. And these are different professional skills that we impart training on. We provide training on technology skills because technology is changing all the time. So we give a lot of training on new technology, Internet of Things, we talk about your artificial intelligence, AR, VR, augmented reality, virtual reality. We talk about big data and analytics. We talk about 5G, the new generations of networks, etc. So a lot of technology trainings are imparted. We also provide leadership development. We prepare our leaders, young leaders, to become future leaders, and we impart training or learning to our mid-level and senior level leaders on how to get better, more strategic, more transformational, more innovative as leaders. These are some of the programs that we run in the organization.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
That was a very discursive and illuminative session by you, sir. By this, we come to an end of this session. I would like to thank Mr. Surya Prakash for sharing his valuable time and knowledge with us. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you for this opportunity. I enjoyed being with all of you, though virtually, but it was a great moment being with you today. And thank you very much for this opportunity.
Yeah, thank you, Surya, for taking your time and being with us. It's been very, very informative, and I'm sure all our students have been quite enlightened by your talk, especially because this is a field where they are in and they have no idea what the corporates really are looking at. There's so much learning. It's a continuous process, and learning never stops. So the main message that we take from here is the pace of learning has to adjust itself to the pace of change if you need to grow. Because at this point of time, the pace of learning is very, very slow. So how do we catch up is the question. Thank you so much for being with us and hope to remain connected. Hopefully we will be able to do this Campus Connect program with Wipro through you. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much.